Alright guys, do not forget to hit that like and subscribe button if you're new to the channel, especially if you enjoyed this video. So I wanted to make a video talking about Adam Konacki versus Chris Arreola. Just because no one's really talking about this fight at all. I mean, I don't see no boxing channel making a video talking about Adam Konacki versus Chris Arreola. It was announced that they're going to be fighting August, so in about 2 months. Well, less than 2 months, in about a month and 2 weeks. About that. Now, they've been building it up as, you know, a fight of the year candidate type of fight. The fight's going to be happening in Brooklyn. So, you know, first of all, this fight right here with Adam Konacki and Chris Arreola, you know, Adam Konacki is kind of like a young Chris Arreola. Chris Arreola, when he was first coming up, when I first started getting into boxing, like as a fan, Chris Arreola was like one of the first heavyweights I was watching, like who was active, because I was doing a lot of like research on like classic heavyweights. But Chris Arreola, I remember watching him fighting in like 2006, 2007. I remember watching him when he was unbeaten, and you know, Chris Arreola was trying to be what Andy Ruiz is currently. He wanted to be the first Mexican heavyweight champion. But unfortunately, during that time, you know, he was fighting during the era of a prime Vitaly Klitschko and a prime Vladimir Klitschko. And when he fought Vitaly Klitschko, like, he got beat up so bad that he cried. Like, in the post-fight, he started crying. And I remember watching that fight, and I was rooting for Chris Arreola. I wanted him to win. But, you know, he got his ass whooped and he cried. And then he ended up fighting Thomas Adamek, who was a former light heavyweight. And Thomas Adamek beat him. And that kind of like, because at the time, before he fought Vitaly Klitschko, he was getting some hype. You know, I remember he was getting some hype up. When he lost to Vitaly Klitschko, and especially when he lost to Thomas Adamek, who was light heavyweight, he kind of fell off. Like, for several years, Chris Arreola kind of fell off. And it wasn't until he fought, what's his name? Bermain Sterver in 2013, where he kind of like resurrected his career. Because I remember after he lost to Thomas Adamek, he kind of fell off the radar. People weren't really talking about him too much, and he was fighting very, very low quality guys. When he fought Bermain Sterver, that was like the first time he fought a dude who was actually a decent opponent, you know, for him at least. He ends up losing to Bermain Sterver, and since then, you know, he basically has fallen off. I mean, the best win he's had in his career since fighting Bermain Sterver is probably against Seth Mitchell. Seth Mitchell. He obviously got destroyed against Deontay Wilder. He fought this journeyman who was a nobody in his last fight. Chris Arreola was always an aggressive fighter. That's what made him entertaining, right? He was an aggressive fighter. Now, when you look at Adam Konacki is kind of like the Polish version of Chris Arreola. The young Polish version of Chris Arreola. He's basically what Chris Arreola is currently right now. He's a guy who comes forward. He's very aggressive. He doesn't really have good defense, Adam Konacki. He throws punches, a lot of punches at you. He basically just tries to overwhelm his opponent. He tries to be aggressive towards his opponent. He tries to overwhelm you and just basically bully you. Like that, I look at him as like a type of bully type of fighter where he tries to put pressure on you, and he doesn't mind. He doesn't really focus on the defense. Like, I actually think somebody like what you call it, Andy Ruiz Jr. I think he's a better fighter than Adam Konacki, because Andy Ruiz Jr. you see him looking out for his defense. You see him moving his upper body movement, right? Also, he's more of a counterpuncher. He doesn't just go in there throwing wild punches and trying to walk his opponent down. He's more of a guy who's more calculated. So I actually think he's a more dangerous fighter than someone like Adam Konacki. But Adam Konacki, like I said, he kind of reminds me of a young Chris Arreola. So Chris Arreola right now is shot to bits. I don't care what anyone says. I thought he looked shot when he fought Travis Kaufman years ago. I thought he looked shot when he fought Fred Cassie years ago. Chris Arreola is not the same Chris Arreola that he was years ago. Like, there was a time where he was extremely aggressive. He's definitely not that same Chris Arreola. Let's keep in mind he's like 38 years old at this point. So Adam Konacki has the youth. And what we're going to see here is we're going to see two dudes fighting each other in a phone booth. All right, going at each other. And I predict that the younger dude, uh, Adam Konacki, will come on top and win. Uh, this is kind of billed as like fight of the year candidate, but it's really a fight where you have a young, aggressive fighter in Adam Konacki versus a older veteran in Chris Arreola, and a guy who, in my opinion, is shot to bits. So I'm definitely picking the young Adam Konacki to outwork and outman and just out youth Chris Arreola and beat him, and he's gonna knock him out. He's definitely gonna knock him out because Chris Arreola's punch resistance lately has not been looking too good. He's been getting dropped by guys like Travis Kaufman. He's been getting rocked by guys like Fred Cassie. Even Eric Molina rocked him. So I don't think he's gonna be able to hold back somebody like Adam Konacki for a long period of time. And I'm picking him to get knocked out. So, they offered Adam Konacki, Eddie Hearn offered Adam Konacki a fight for Anthony Joshua's titles on June 1st, and he rejected that. He said, "No, I'm not a prostitute. I'm not going to be fighting, what's his name, Anthony Joshua." Instead, he's fighting a washed-up Chris Arreola. So I mean, what would have been better, fighting Anthony Joshua or washed-up Chris Arreola? Anthony Joshua would have been extremely wealthy right now, and he would be a unified champion had he won. So, but that's the past. Anyway, that's all I have to say, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'm out.